And we're back with We Talk Over Monster Hunter World. I am entirely more comfortable, and I probably even look it, although you guys can't see it. We took a little bit of an extended break on this one, set up the rest of the night. Waterboy totally didn't fudge a mission, and
we did not lose a mission, guys.
No, this is the same.
Happen.
This is the same load screen that you guys we ended the previous one on. I don't know. So, I mean, we've got a number of things that we need to talk about and figure out with this new Star Wars game, because it's... Oh, by the way, new Star Wars game as in us remaking the 2011 The Old Republic MMO. Not an actual new Star Wars game that was announced.
Whereas that would be cool.
Would be.
That's not going to happen, probably.
And they're probably working on one. And it's probably going to suck because it's still being controlled by fucking EA.
Yeah, no.
No, EA is working with BioWare on another one. They just aren't talking about it.
Ugh.
So... Oh my god, they had an all-hands-on-deck thing for some game that they were talking about. And fucking Eric Musco was in that video.
Oh boy.
Because, again, no hands on deck for the Old Republic. I'm so pissed off with how much they just don't give a fuck about that game. And the fact that they've been like this for a long time. But, anyway. So now... Do we really have an issue when it comes to the different factions not having all the classes? Because what would PvP look like in this game? Would it be... So with 3 classes, that kind of makes it...
So technically, with this... So it depends what the third...
Or 3 factions,
So you made this point, though. It's not like smugglers and bounty hunters are necessarily buddies, right?
Exactly.
Like, they're not. They're just unaffiliated. Doesn't mean
Freelance
like
faction, we'll call them that.
And so if you have this idea of a freelance faction that's just neutral and can go with any side, then really, no faction is missing a class. Right? Because you could have...
But you still have the problem of having to find these people and it being maybe a little bit more difficult because they aren't in your faction.
Maybe. So, yeah, that's true. That's true. Unless, of course, in PvP, the idea is, like, with the freelancers, is that they just go and fight whichever side happens to hire them at that moment.
So in that one, we're still trying to make 2 sides happen, and we have a convenient way of doing it.
Although I will admit, I just do not like the faction idea, because one of the problems is it splits a player base, and which can sometimes become too small.
Well, here's what I was thinking. What if PvP wasn't Imperial versus Republic with the freelance faction just filling in holes? What if it was just simply...
Why am I fighting him?
Teams of 8 versus teams of 8. Faction didn't matter. It only matters for the story, the PvE aspect. What if PvP didn't care about that? There is no consequence for Imperials winning a bunch of PvP matches. Or, I don't want to say Republicans, but the Republic faction winning a bunch of matches. Right?
Right? Yeah. You mean like in-game. Yeah, there's no...
So, in PvP, just allow fucking Jedi to team it up with Sith or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's PvP. Nothing lore-wise matters.
Oh, man, dude.
At all.
So, first off, I 100% agree with you. Second off, if you make that suggestion... Well, back when we played that game, if you made that suggestion on the forums, people lost their fucking shit. You would think that the greatest storyline ever told was told in fucking war zones. The way they died.
They can think that there's lore where there's not all they want. There wasn't lore there.
No, there was zero lore there. But, oh, man. Oh, do not destroy my fantasy of killing Imperials. You're such a twat.
Then go kill the Imperials. Leave the Republic players alone. Let them kill you. Whatever. That would help a lot with the imbalance, though. That a lot of the servers had. It would honestly solve a lot of problems. And it would also... I mean, what if a lot of players weren't playing the freelance classes? Because that was definitely the case back when the game started.
Oh, yeah.
Smugglers and agents? I mean, agents people played because of the story, but no one played smugglers. And that was a problem back when the gear that dropped was always for a class. So the most populous gear that would drop in operations was smuggler gear.
Because no one played it?
No one played it.
The desire sensor.
So the smugglers that did play, they were fucking geared before most people got their second piece of equipment. So then, thankfully, they changed that pretty early on to be...
Smart.
Okay, no, they changed it to be okay, now this piece is a, I'm just going to say a colony headpiece. And so when someone got it, they went and turned it into the vendor and got that headpiece for that class.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
So it turned back into something better. So, God, I remember those first three. It was Taiwanese, Colony, and Ricotta? Yeah. Yeah, those were the times. Fart. So anyway, just fucking solve PvP that way. Leave the factions for PvE. And I think that would be great. Honestly. And having everything in Arshada, just one fleet, would be great.
Yeah.
So now, but we come into the problem of the having enough in-game content for all the different factions, because I don't feel that story-wise, PvE in-game can just ignore the story and the lore. That's not alright. So having a different raid for all of these different things, most of the time I feel is required. Sometimes they can share the same thing, that's fine. They're racing to unleash a power on something, that makes sense. But they kept making the enemies outside of the factions, when it would have been a lot better if the enemy was inside the faction and they had to go and defeat some bad Imperial.
Right. So, I mean, I agree with you 100% on that one. I think
it just brings up the problem of, okay, but this is more development time.
Yeah, and this is actually also, again, this might sound weird, also kind of why I think it would be better if you didn't have a faction. Like, if instead of picking, like, a Republic character, an Imperial character, like, you were a neutral character who got some storyline reason why you were being taught Jedi techniques, why you were being taught Sith techniques, or what have you.
Right, but that still kind of makes it to where when you get to the end game...
So then, the idea is... So, okay, here's a problem, though, with my idea. And that is, it is contingent upon this idea that you don't have factions, that, you know, although you could still have classes, you just don't have factions. And then, it actually, come back to an earlier episode, when you're talking about your theme, right? There's no good and evil. It would play into this idea, too, that there's no good and evil, even though in Star Wars it's very much so, I always love to have good and evil. But, like, a lot of the bad guys would be both Imperials and Republic people, because if you think about, like, some of the later storylines in the Old Republic, too, they did go that route, right? Like, Suresh proved to be a bad guy, even though she was the Chancellor for the Republic, right? Like, she was a piece of shit, right?
Sure.
And so then you do stuff like that. That would be kind of like the storyline almost would be like, instead of being this great hero of this gigantic war and you're trying to turn the tide of battle for someone, you might even scale down the scope of the story a bit to be more like you're a hero for people and you're trying to save people from this goddamn awful piece of shit war that has no good guys. Like, the Republic is bad, the Empire is bad. I mean, there are individuals who are good. Like, maybe there's there's Jedi that are trying to help people. You could even have, like, the honor-bound Sith, like, from the Jedi Knight storylines. Guys like him, right? Where maybe that's Weapon Sith. And then you could have, character options or player options where they could do evil things or good things. But then, in terms of, like, designing content, you would at least save yourself from having to design 2 or even 3 sets of content. Because if there's only one faction, you really only have to design 1 set of content. But this is a complete derailment of the idea that we were talking about earlier.
I feel like that would be very... Because you're trying to make the argument that these characters that you create are individuals.
Right.
And can do what they want. And yet, they all end up doing the same thing in the end anyway, when it comes to doing the same operation. And so
true.
I feel like that would break down. In addition, I'm kind of now just realizing why the whole choosing what you do after you start the game thing kind of breaks down a little bit unless it's handled a certain way. The thing about the Jedi, maybe the Sith don't care. The thing about the Jedi is that you're trained from a young age. And so when you choose the Jedi classes in the game, you are an adult, but you are already trained and obviously capable of great things.
Right.
Because you do have skill.
No, it's true. Like, so, I mean, part of what we're doing too is because of how we're changing it. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd have to drastically change a lot of the storyline. Especially if
well, that's fine. I understand. I expected that a lot of that would happen, although plenty of the elements could also remain.
Yeah. But like, I think because what was in the Jedi Knight storyline, the dude who was your teacher for a long time, and then he died. Spoiler alert.
Which one?
The dude.
Which storyline?
Jedi Knight.
He didn't last very long. I don't think. I don't remember his name.
Did he die in the first chat? Oh, he did die in the first act, didn't he?
I thought so.
But like, so the idea could be...
he might have died before he got off fucking Tython.
No, he lived longer than that, for sure. Because you were running... When you guys were all splitting up trying to hunt down for something or another, he was one of the ones running around doing that crap. He ends up, like, sacrificing himself fighting with...
Is he still there when you go to Alderaan? No, that's a consular storyline. Never mind.
He is, though. God, what is his name? Master something.
Rahul?
Not Rahul. He's the dick who never gives us engrams we want. No, as well as one of your regular viewers who's assumedly not a dick who doesn't give us the engrams we want.
No, Rahul's awesome.
But a simple change could simply be he's kind of a rogue Jedi Master. Right, like he's a Jedi Master, but like he often doesn't work well with the Council. He kind of goes off on his own, does a lot.
Sure,
of things.
But that doesn't make him evil. It just makes him
doing. No. But that's how you explain how maybe this person who's never had any formal Jedi training, as a young person, is now getting trained as a Jedi because this guy just doesn't care about the idea of only training younglings or whatever the fuck the term is they use. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. It's.
Nope, that was his gigantic chin. What is the thing? I believe Reddit calls this guy Jay Leno. Or is it the other one that they call Jay Leno, and this one has this... I can't remember. One of them gets called Jay Leno, the other one is like a special version of Jay Leno.
Well, there's Jay Leno, and there's also... what's his name? I want to call him Briscoe County Jr., but that's not his name.
Bruce Campbell?
That's it. I'm so fucking glad you got that reference. He's got a big chin, too. Not as obvious. Oh. So, I don't know. I feel like we can get into it, but we're starting to get really technical, and I wonder if people who did not play Star Wars are zero interested in anything that we're talking about now,
right.
So
they're starting to tune us out. No,
they might have stopped watching episodes ago. Like, God damn it, we had an audience.
Then they wouldn't shut up about the over public.
But yeah, we'll find something else.
Let's see what we
but
get
for
here.
now. Oh wait, we'll see.
Let's see what we get here. Nope, and nope. All right. Bust, guys.
Oh,
Bust.
well. We are done talking.
Bye-bye.